Hey, welcome to Acoustic Guitar Circle. My name is John Hart. I am a fingerstyle singer-songwriter, and I have been playing guitar for probably 30 plus years. And I was a guitar teacher for 20 years where I taught thousands of pupils. Now, I built Acoustic Guitar Circle after 20 years experience and realizing a lot of students sort of started to lose morale when they would turn up guitar lessons and they would have, grade books, or we were kind of working on things that really didn't spark their passion and didn't give them a lot of purpose. So I then started to sort of reverse engineer all of this and look into the psychology of this. And the main thing I sort of discovered is it's not about the how, it's about the why. And there is intent and purpose into not only learning guitar, but having to like sort of take it onto another phase where you can go from learning to then exploring and experimenting and really just start enjoying your guitar playing with your eyes closed. Where and I do this thing every day on TikTok at the moment, and it's called guitar therapy. And the idea is that I don't go in standard tuning, I go into an open or alternate tuning, and I improvise. And what it's led to is I do it for my nervous system. And the brilliant thing is that the guitar can become like a coping mechanism. It can actually become a person. My guitar is a Cole Clark. I call her Luna. She's my best friend and therapist. And instead of practicing her every day or playing every day, I treat it like a relationship where I catch up, we communicate, we connect. And I do this for like 5 minutes, whatever it is. So I then sort of started reversing engineer. Why am I still keep going? What is it about the guitar that I love, especially the acoustic guitar, right? And to me, it's the best all-round instrument in the world. Not only obviously you can play, the bass notes, you can play chords, you can play melody and harmony, you can do percussion. It's just almost like a one sort of band or an orchestra onto one instrument. But what I see a lot of players do, and when they're learning, is they will stay in standard tuning, which is fine, and they'll build up some shapes. Maybe it's chords, maybe it's scales, and all these other things, and then start to learn some songs, but then get stuck. And that's where ruts can happen. Obviously, motivation can start to sort of, basically decrease. And then this concept that I've called where your needs are being met, which is money, energy, and time, right? And then the biggest excuses that I find are I don't have any time, I don't have any energy, and I don't have any money. And I think what it comes down to is prioritization. So when I was growing up, I was into football, I was into skateboarding, and I was into guitar. And I sort of realized I could be a jack of all trades, or, a king, or whatever it is, of one, right? And that's where I started to put in all of my efforts into guitar. And it wasn't just about let's learn scales, let's learn techniques, let's learn theory and things. I would then go, oh, what's my dad's favorite track? And here's a Stairway to Heaven, right? Classic. Wayne's World, no stairway. But instead of just learn the intro, it's like, well, let's learn the whole 8 minutes. And this is where I started to explore. It's like actually, full songs, full pieces, and then I started to sing on top. And then I was like, okay, this is different layers. Got into bands and things as well. And then after bands, trying to find the right band members, I then went into, as a sort of a singer-songwriter. But as a singer-songwriter, I kind of started feeling more like an entertainer than a musician. So I started my own journey of fingerstyle. And this wasn't just influence. I didn't pick up courses and stuff as well. I literally learned it myself, because there's a way of you can, look at guitar objectively or theorize it, or actually a lived experience. So I started to, I was like, oh, hang on a minute. What if we were to trace all the layers of one song onto one guitar? So I did it with Money by Pink Floyd, where instead of a loop and pedal, back and track and band, I would play the cash registers with my right hand, play the bass with my left hand, then bring in the organ, the guitar, the beat and everything all in one guitar. And then I then sing over the top of it. Obviously that's separate. But the point of that is that I mean, that took 6 months to arrange. It's really advanced, and then 6 months to put on stage. But now it's timeless for me because I grew up with listening to Dark Side of the Moon. So when it came to the concept of Acoustic Guitar Circle, I was like, I built. It was during the pandemic. I built the beginner, the intermediate, and the fingerstyle circle. I call them the circles, and that is basically the same template as every other single guitar course out there, right? And I was like, okay, well, this, if you were to run a race, right, and we booked in the race, the learning circle is just learning. You're learning about the prep and everything as well. What we need is two more phases. So I then started building something called the building circles, and that's where you start to do the actual training. You put all the skills, all the scales and everything as well into building the pieces. Now, there's a lot of us, when we learn songs for the first time, it could be one dimensional. We just learn the chords of a piece. We do the picking. We maybe do a bit of strumming, but that's it. And that can then sound quite one dimensional. What we want to ideally be looking at is like, actually, what if we took all the layers of that instrumentation and then applied it to the guitar as if it was tracing paper? This is where the creative problem solving and the Rubik's Cube really start to kick in. You start to, it's almost like building muscles. You're like, wow, this is really starting to elevate my playing. So I started building the building circles. So here, I don't know if you can see in this image, it's got the beginner circle. So you learn all the skills in there, the intermediate circle, the fingerstyle, and then we've got something arranging. So again, it's covers and stuff. So you're arranging all of the layers onto one guitar, and then you can then take that exact same formula and then convert it into composing, so your own pieces. So the arranging circle, the psychology behind it is your core musical memories. So if you draw on them, like I did with Money, I did with Stairway to Heaven, I did with The Chain by Fleetwood Mac, and then I've converted them into my dad's music, and I converted it into songs that I carry around and play on stage that feel original. Then what I did is I've got all the layering system for the arranging, and I can then transition over to composing. So I now take core memories, whether they're good or bad or whatever it is, and then I use the layering system then to start to build out, whether it's standard, open, or alternate tunings. So you can then move back and forth between these two. This is where covers don't get sort of discarded. They actually become part of your tapestry, and timeless way of learning. And you're not doing grades. You're not turning up to guitar lessons and going, okay, I'm just new scales, and you're feeling, in fear of anybody, or you're like, oh, I haven't practiced this week. That's not what I want Acoustic Guitar Circle to be about. I want it to be about the person rather than the practice, the number, and all the, point scoring and things as well. Or like, have you practiced? It's like, no, that's not what it's about. Time for all of it, for everybody, is completely different. Energy is different. Money is different, right? That's where the needs are being met. But if you have pieces that you absolutely love, then you'll find that you'll start to prioritize that and start to shift things out of the way. And you're like, instead of like 20 minutes a week, and if your guitar was a relationship, right, and you were only connecting it for 20 minutes a week, you wouldn't have a relationship. But actually checking in with it for 5 minutes to 10 minutes a day, you'll start to find it'll start to build up the momentum. And so with Acoustic Guitar Circle, you can then move. There's something I've missed, one missing here, called the upgrading. So the arranging and the composing are kind of beginner arrangements and beginner compositions. But then I've built something called the upgrading circle. So you can then take them from 1.0 to 2.0 techniques and swap them out. And 3.0, which is then getting into fingerstyle. And then, like, to complete the race analogy, you want to do the race, right? You want to present yourself. So I call them the launching circles, right? And so you then got the recording circle. And this is where I collaborated with an incredible fingerstyle classical guitarist, Declan Sapella. Go and check him out online. And he's produced a lot of my albums as well. So not only is he coming from an incredible guitarist mindset, he's got a producer skill set and mindset as well. So he's just like the perfect hybrid. So he then collaborated with me on the recording circle. And then once you've got it recorded, you can then go and present it. So this is releasing it online. You can perform it online. You can go and perform it in person. So what you've done here is you've gone from learning. Now you can go from beginner, right, straight over to beginner arranging. You can then arrange something, you record it, and then you can then present it online if you want to. Then the circle idea is you go full circle, so you can go into intermediate. Then you can upgrade that piece if you wanted to intermediate skills, and then record it and stuff as well. Or you can obviously take a new piece, but you've got the community in the circle of the guitar the whole time. And that's where I was like, I didn't want something to just be one time. We don't just pick up a book once. I mean, depending on what it is, but if you've got something that is a timeless book, you will read it 1 year, and then you could then read it the following year, and it could be, pick up new things. I mean, my books of all time are Lord of the Rings, right? And every time I read them, I find out new details, new whatever it is and stuff. But this is the same with guitar playing. Every time I go and arrange a piece or compose a piece, or I'm starting to work on an arrangement of Jupiter by Holst, which is a 16-piece orchestra, and trying to put it onto one guitar, not just the hymn, but the whole 8 minutes. It's kind of ridiculous, but it's one of those where I'm like, well, I'm not going to put any time on this. There's no one told me to do this, but I can do that. But this is what you can achieve. This is that. Then you've got that kind of sort of endless and timeless possibility. It's limitless, really, because all you're doing is you're delving into your own resources of your core musical memories and your core memories. You then learn the skills, with the beginner, intermediate, and fingerstyle. You then, and you can dip back into them. You don't have to do it in this process that I've done here. You could go from beginner and then hop over to recording, hop over to here. You don't have to take the full beginner course or the full, you might not be beginner. You might not take the full fingerstyle. You might just dip into here, use it for your arrangement. Okay, actually, you want to learn something else? Dip into here. This is the beauty about it. You can just move around as if it was like, I don't know, it looks like an island or a festival or something like that, right? So that is kind of like the map of it. And then what I've done here is I've included a lesson, so you can see kind of like a template of that, a testimonial, and then a few of my pieces. And then if you go into the community, pretty sort of self-explanatory. It looks like a Facebook group basically, but it's a lot quieter. It's on a platform called School, SKOOL.com, and it's got an app, really, really great app. But the beauty about this is, like, every time I go to social media and stuff as well, there's notifications, there's groups, there's this all over the place. And that's what I wanted to avoid with this. This is closed, and also you get access to me. I've come off of social media, so I'm going to be in school and you get notifications. But yeah, you can just pop in here, and you can, tag whatever it is and stuff, reconnecting. This was, David, he's been in Acoustic Guitar Circle and goes in and out of it and stuff. But the beauty about this is that you won't get into a rut with Acoustic Guitar Circle. And, I do something called Friday Feedback. So you can upload a clip to YouTube, just whatever you're playing, and then come and share it in the community. And I'll just give you some feedback. It's a nice way of doing it without having to book lessons and stuff as well. And if this starts to really, really pick up, I might put in some like weekly check-in meetings and stuff as well. But it's sometimes I just think actually this works for a lot of people. So this is the community, the classroom tab here. So I've broken it up. As you can see, just move my mug out the way. You've got the learning circles. So just give you an example of what it looks like. If you click on here, that you can go to, I've called it module, but actually it could be week, right? So there's 2 lessons pretty much in every week here. So if I click on that, you'll see, right? And then you've got a doc here, which has some summaries and bits and bobs. So yeah, and then you've got 12 modules. So there's 24 lessons in there. There's about 200 to 220 videos all together in this whole comprehensive Acoustic Guitar Circle. Again, intermediate, you go into all of those bits and bobs there. If you're looking for fingerstyle, again, finger style picking, percussion, tapping, all that up malarkey. And again, then we're going down to the building circles, arranging. I do a baking analogy. So you use a recipe, icing, base and stuff. Again, got lots of different lessons broken down. And I think there's a 25-minute workshop in there as well. Composing, again, similar thing. So again, you're using similar frameworks and concepts all the time, rather than like you've got to keep learning something. I don't want it to feel like you have to learn all the theory and all the technique first just to be able to play, right? I've even, when I've been performing live, and I'm an active musician, by the way, This is not me coming in going, oh, I used to be like that. I still am like that. I'm still producing albums. I'm still gigging. I'm still doing the live streams. I'm still out there, and so there's no age with this. And doesn't matter about ability, doesn't matter about age. And I think it matters about mindset about this and stuff, and being open and allowing things to grow naturally. It's kind of almost like a garden analogy. And then you've got the upgrading, like I said. So again, so if I went into 2.0 here, you've got all these ingredients that you don't have to learn straight away. You might have a piece that you're working on, right? So it's all about the pieces. Rather than it being about the techniques and the theory, make it about the pieces, because that's what you're going to then present as like racing. Again, this is all optional. You don't even have to go to the building circles and the launching circles. You could stay in learning your whole life if you want to. But I believe to move from learning to building or exploration or experimentation, that's where you're going to be able to bop your head and close your eyes and really, really enjoy it. So you've got the upgrading circle, and then, like I said, you've got the recording circle. There's like 50 lessons in this thing here and stuff. Some things might need to be upgraded. This is not fixed. I will look at it, and obviously if people see any mistakes, whatever it is and stuff, please do let me know. There is the presenting circle. I'm just showing you bits and bobs here. I know this is a long video. But also, I do have ADHD, autism, dyslexia. So this is neurodivergent friendly without a doubt, which is why I use traffic lights, systems, and all sorts of other stuff. And then I've even done bonus circles, so there's resources in here. So you can go in here and check out different things if you want to. There is enhancing. So kind of, you can use different strategies or concepts and stuff as well. And if you want to basically, you're not sure where to start, go to the taster circle. And I've just put 8 taster, one lesson basically from each circle that you can sort of try out. There's a calendar here that, if we do set up the meetings, we'll go in there. You can see all the members, where they are, where they are around the world. There's a leadership board. So if you get involved with the community a bit more, I will start adding incentives. As you see, look, people are on the leaderboard here and stuff. And then sort of obviously the about page. So that's the school. And, obviously if you do want to go and check me out, johnhartmusic.com, fingerstyle singer-songwriter, and you check out all the bits and bobs. But the beauty of it is that, again, I'm coming from lived experience, and, this is not objective and theory and things as well. And I'm still in the trenches and stuff doing all the time. If you're interested in popping in, coming in, you will be welcome. And, we do want dedicated guitarists. If you're starting from scratch, there is the beginner circle in there, but I would encourage you to go, and look at some free YouTube videos and everything as well. It is an investment, and this was $997, but I included lots of other extra sort of groups and stuff as well. But I've brought it down to $297 because I just feel like looking at the other, I've got guitar risk peers, right? And they're all around the sort of same price. But again, like I said, this is comprehensive and really does go from all the different levels. If you've got any questions, you can go to my website or email me at john@johnhartmusic.com. But thank you so much for watching. And like I said, you are welcome. And come and join us in the Acoustic Guitar Circle and start to build your journey. And hopefully see you on the other side. Cheers. Take care. Bye-bye.